3 p.m. Good evening to everyone. I need to find my agenda before we can go too much further. So if you want me to stay organized, I do. Those of you who can, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence or silent prayer as your conscience finds appropriate. Thank you. Please be seated. You know that window zooming to full size messes up my careful arrangement of windows. So let's see. Members of the council, you have before you an agenda. Are any amendments required to the agenda this evening?
I have none.
Just tried to scroll the Zoom screen on mine to look through. Okay, are there any conflicts of interest that any council members have? Any legislative action items or other items that will personally change your life in a significant way? And I know it's a little bit hard to draw that line sometimes, but just asking. Does anyone have any? Okay. With no conflicts of interest and no amendments, may I please have a motion to approve the agenda as introduced?
Motion to approve the agenda as introduced.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Lingua, seconded by Councilmember Smith to approve the agenda as submitted. Is there any discussion of this? Are there any public comments? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Called you out of order. Heh,
Seriously, it threw me through a curveball.
The additional council members are Councilmember Sadiq here. Councilmember Mejia here. Councilmember Mayers in attendance. Okay, please mark that they were not in attendance, at least to the beginning of the meeting. Okay, the motion, I will abstain. The motion passes 3-0-1. That brings us to the, where is it? Proclamation for Small Business Saturday. Give me just a moment to get it up on screen. I'm going to start in Spanish tonight, just for fun. Proclamación, considerando que el gobierno de Riverdale Park, Maryland, celebra a nuestras pequeñas empresas locales y las contribuciones que hacen a nuestra economía y comunidad local, según la Administración de Pequeñas Empresas de los Estados Unidos, hay 31.7 millones de pequeñas empresas en los Estados Unidos, representan 99.7% de todas las empresas con empleados remunerados y son responsables de 65.1% de los nuevos empleos netos creados entre 2000 y 2019. Y considerando que las pequeñas empresas emplean al 47.1% de los empleados del sector privado en los Estados Unidos, el 88% porcentaje, is that even right? I need to get that right. De los consumidores estadounidenses sienten un compromiso personal de apoyar a las pequeñas empresas después de la pandemia y el 92% de los propietarios de pequeñas empresas han cambiado la forma que hacen negocios para permanecer abiertos durante la pandemia y considerando que el 97% de los compradores del Small Business Saturday reconocen el impacto que pueden generar comprado en empresas pequeñas, el 85% de ellos también alentaron a sus amigos y familiares y que también lo hicieran. Y considerando que el 56% de los compradores informaron que compraron en línea con una empresa pequeña, el sábado de empresas pequeñas en 2020, y más de 50% de los consumidores que informaron haber comprado en empresas pequeñas respaldaron una empresa local en las redes sociales o compraron en una empresa local debido a una recomendación en las redes sociales. Y considerando que Riverdale Park, Maryland apoyó nuestras empresas locales que crean empleos, impulsan nuestra economía local y preservan nuestras comunidades, y considerando que los grupos de defensa, así como las organizaciones públicas y privadas en todo el país han respaldado al sábado después del Día de Acción de Gracias como sábado de negocios pequeños. Ahora, por lo tanto, yo, Alan K. Thompson, alcalde de Riverdale Park, Maryland, por lo presente proclamo el 28 de noviembre de 2020 como sábado de negocios pequeños. E instamos a los residentes de nuestra comunidad y las comunidades de todo el país a que apoyen a las empresas pequeñas y comerciantes al sábado de negocios pequeños y durante todo el año. And now, in English, I can scroll back up. Whereas the government of Riverdale Park, Maryland celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. According to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 31.7 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of all firms with paid employees, and they're responsible for 65.1% of net new jobs created from 2000 to 2019. And whereas small businesses employ 47.1% of the employees in the private sector in the United States, 88% of US consumers feel a personal commitment to support small businesses in the wake of the pandemic, and 92% of small business owners have pivoted the way they do business to stay open during the pandemic. And whereas 97% of small business Saturday shoppers recognize the impact they can make by shopping small, 85% of them also encouraged friends and family to do so too. And whereas 56% of shoppers reported they shopped online with a small business on Small Business Saturday in 2020, almost read that in Spanish, and more than 50% of consumers who reported shopping small endorsed a local business on social media or shopped at a local business because of a social media recommendation. And whereas Riverdale Park, Maryland supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities, and whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Now, therefore, I, Alan K. Thompson, Mayor of Riverdale Park, Maryland, do hereby proclaim Saturday, November 27th, 2021, as Small Business Saturday, and urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. Fantastic. I really enjoy reading the Small Business Saturday proclamation, except for all of the puntos and percents. So I hope everyone will take the proclamation to heart and shop the day after Thanksgiving at our local small businesses. There are lots of them to take care of. The next presentation is an introduction to the budget format.
Mr. Mayor, a preliminary item before I introduce Mr. Jones. Tonight's presentation is really geared towards those who may be less familiar with the budget format. And I was going to ask if you wanted to postpone this until the newer members of the council
I think
for the
that
next meeting, because
I think that's actually a good idea. Why don't we postpone it until we have more in attendance, and we can do it at a work session if we have more of them. Councilmember Smith, is that okay?
I'll allow
We
it.
delay? Okay, thank you. You're the one new member who's here tonight, so. Okay, well, that takes me to the mayor's report then. The first thing I have to do is report a little bit late a closed meeting that occurred on September 28th at 7 p.m. It was a virtual meeting via Zoom. And the motion to close the meeting was made by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Smith. And those voting in favor were Councilmember Smith, Foe, Lingua, and Mayers. I abstained, and not present were Councilmembers Mejia and Sadiq. The reason to close the meeting, statutory authority, was General Provisions Article Section 3-305B 7 and H, which are 8, which are respectively to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter, and to consult with staff consultants or other individuals about pending or potential litigation. And I wish I could provide a little bit more detail, but the topics we discussed were a specific possible source of litigation against the town and strategies to avoid that litigation. And we moved back into open session at 8:11 p.m. So that is that report. As I typically do, I'll start out the main part of my report with discussing the COVID-19 pandemic. Last week, we were on a really nice trajectory. The numbers were dropping quickly, and unfortunately, it turned around after Monday and sort of leveled off, I guess is what I would say, leveled off. Slight increase, numbers are slightly up. We really need to stay focused. We can be close. We're getting close to having some real successes here. We need to stay focused. We need to get vaccinated. If we haven't been vaccinated, if you are eligible, as I am, you should get a booster vaccine. I'm getting my booster vaccine on Thursday morning and getting a flu shot at the exact same time, just to get both of them out of the way at the same time. We have vaccinations likely becoming available for children ages 5 to 11 years later this week. And I encourage all parents who have children in that age range to get your children vaccinated as quickly as possible. While it's true that they are less likely to have severe outcomes from the disease, they are still perfectly capable of passing it on to others, including vulnerable adults. And the one thing I'll say, I track these numbers across the country, various places across the country. And until recently, almost everywhere was going down. And the one place that I saw that was going up was a county in Maine. And I think that part of that may have been that the weather was shifting up there already, that the weather was getting colder and people were moving indoors and closer to each other and in enclosed places. So please keep that in mind as the weather gets cooler here. It's getting cooler, that you still need to maintain distance. You still need to stay out of poorly ventilated spaces. You still need to wear a mask. And ideally, and this is all on top of being vaccinated, the Delta variant that's now more than 99% of cases is much more highly transmissible than the previous ones. And so while back in May or June, it may have been okay if you were vaccinated to go without a mask, that's no longer true. So please remember, get vaccinated, wear a mask, wash your hands, maintain distance, stay away from crowds. Thank you. Earlier this month, I testified in front of the planning board with the recommendations from the town council on changes that they could do in parks and mainly in parks and recreation. But in particular, one issue we had brought up was converting one of our parks, partially converting it into a surge stormwater facility. And I focused most of my testimony on that, saying that we had gotten heard that there's a little bit of pushback from Parks and Planning on that, and that we were really hoping that they could work with us to simultaneously satisfy the goals of having a recreational facility and helping out with this desperate need of having stormwater capacity. And the chair of the board said that he heard that we were sensing some reluctance and would be working to try to get some motion there for us. So I really appreciated that from Chair Hewlett. This last Saturday, I joined about total of six volunteers Saturday morning, which is not my best time, but I still got up early and joined six volunteers. And we had reserved a block at the corner of Kenilworth and East West Highway to pick up litter. And working over about 2.5 hours, we picked up between the six of us 22 bags of trash from that one block. And there was a lot of trash. And Prince George's County, who had been organizing the big event across the county, showed up at the end of the event and picked up the trash. We have some photos, and perhaps I can share some of those. This was organized by some members of our sustainability committee, the Green Team. And one thing I'll say is that when you are that intimately involved with a block for a couple of hours, then you notice some other issues going on. And so I'll be bringing some of those up with Town Manager Listician in our meeting later this week. I have about half a dozen issues that I think we might be able to address over there. So that's that. And with yesterday, then we started moving into the holiday season. Yesterday was Halloween. I hear that Councilmember Lingua had 2 groups, and Councilmember Smith had perhaps half a dozen if we take Councilmember Lingua's estimate. I think I probably had about 12 or 15 and gave away about 3 or 4 pounds worth of candy. It was about half the size that I'm used to seeing. It's usually a very busy neighborhood, but it was nice. And I was very happy to see that all of my neighbors who were giving out candy were following the CDC guidance and sitting outside, maintaining distances, and making sure that transmission was highly unlikely. So really appreciate that. And we are looking forward in the upcoming month, and there are 2 other holidays I want to highlight. One of them is Veterans Day on November 11th. I will be recording some remarks, and you can watch me speak on video. And I've already been plotting out my speech for that. And then late in the month, we will have Thanksgiving Day. And I hope that everyone will look back over the last year with all of its highs and lows and be thankful for whatever you can find in there. It's been said that that people are happiest not if they have money, not if they're busy, not if any of these things, but if they take time to appreciate the good things that have happened to them, even if it's overshadowed by many bad things. And I know that there are many who have suffered this way. So with that, and with wishes for a happy Thanksgiving to all, I will close my mayor's report. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the town manager's report. Mr. Town Manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of council and the community and the staff team. I have just a few things this evening. I'll be very brief. A reminder that in observance of Veterans Day, town hall operations and public work operations will be closed. In addition to the mayor's comments reference Veterans Day, we will be laying a wreath at the Veterans Memorial. There's no public ceremony. Staff have been collecting photos of veterans, both from the staff team and veterans in the community. And so that'll be part of the video montage that'll be made public on the 11th. The only other thing I have is it's budget season, and we will be getting into numbers a little bit earlier this year. So at every meeting moving forward, something about the budget will be on the agenda. As we've talked in these meetings many times, the budget is the most transparent document that we create, and the mayor and council have been clear to the staff team about transparency and fiscal accountability, and so that is our goal during this entire process. So we'll be publishing the budget calendar at the end of the month, and then going forward. And that's all I have this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Are there any questions for the Town Manager? Okay. Let's move on to the next item on the agenda then, the monthly finance report.
Mr. Jones?
Sure, thank you, John. Tonight's monthly finance report, thank you, covers the month of October. It covers the revenues for the current fiscal year, and it shows the 2 previous fiscal years that preceded such. It covers the revenue and the expenditures, as well as a year to date. So for the current fiscal year, for the month of October, the town revenue was $2,951,128. Expenditures totaled $549,492. The net being $2,401,636. Year to date, town revenue is at $4,370,000. Expenditures total $2,233,773, with a net of $2,136,282. So if we look at the October portion of the finance report, revenue is down a little bit from the previous fiscal year. As we mentioned in previous finance reports, the tangible personal property tax was much higher in the previous fiscal year. So that makes up a bit of the difference there. And then expenditures are a little bit higher than in the previous fiscal year, but the town still is managing to be very conservative with spending in lieu of the events that are taking place with Coven and such. Overall, if you look at the year to date for the current fiscal year, the net is $2,136,282, which is actually up a bit from the previous fiscal year. While revenues aren't as high, the town has done a great job in being conservative with spending. So the spending for the expenditure side is lower. So the net is actually a little bit higher than in the previous fiscal year. So yes, that concludes the finance report for the month of October. And I will open up the door for any questions.
Thank you, Deputy Director Jones. Are there questions for the Deputy Director? Council's quiet this evening.
No, I have none.
Thank you, Council Member. Okay. Thank you, Deputy Director Jones. Let's move on to the correspondence summary, the next item on.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the treasurer's report subject to audit.
Very good. Is there a second? Motion by Councilmember Lingua, seconded by Councilmember Foe. Is there any discussion to the motion to adopt the monthly finance treasurer's report subject to audit? See no members of the public in attendance, so I'll just ask any public comments. Hearing none, let's move on to a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
I'll call the names again just in case they've arrived. Councilmember Sadiq. Councilmember Mejia. Councilmember Mayers. Okay, I abstain. The motion passes 3-0-1. That brings us to the correspondence summary. And there is simply a press release from the Cameron Grove HOA board. And everyone should have a copy of that. If there's a motion to come from it, then council members can speak up. Hearing none, let's move on to the fire department report. I have not received a fire department report. Have
And the
staff received one?
That's a no, sir.
Okay. That brings us to council, committee, and ward reports. And let's start with Councilmember Smith, Ward 1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know a lot of folks in Ward 1 were happy to get somewhat back to more normal trick-or-treating last night over the weekend. We had a good time handing out candy at our house. I'm telling you, if you're not getting the proper amount of trick-or-treaters, be a full-size candy bar house. The kids remember. Although you might undercut yourself because the parents also remember, so they kind of cross the street sometimes. But it was great. My son was Spider-Man. He got around the neighborhood. And I'm glad we were able to do this as a community safely and with a lot of fun. Wanted to make sure people know that some new box art, the art that goes on, the public art that goes on the utility boxes around town, around the county. There should be some new art pieces, art wraps coming up in Ward 1 today and tomorrow, including up near Riverdale Park Station and 48th and Queensberry and a few other spots. So really excited to see continued neighborhood beautification and additional public art, which I'm a big fan of. To echo the mayor's comments on COVID, I'm really personally excited that the 5 to 11 vaccine authorization should come, and we anticipate it to come this week. The logistics for deploying that vaccine, because it's a smaller dose than the adult one. CDC says that should be available next week, which is exciting. I encourage everyone to get the vaccine if you haven't. Your kids, if they're become eligible, please get it for them as soon as possible. My wife and I will be getting our son vaccinated as soon as possible, as soon as we can get an appointment. And I also want to flag that I discovered this week that the county conducts a vaccine clinic in Ward 1 every other Saturday, including this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Riverdale Park Station near the Whole Foods. I haven't personally been to this site. I just found it on the county calendar. I'll be going this Saturday to drop by and see what's going on, but it's a great resource to have in our town and in Ward 1. And as I mentioned, they likely will not have the child dosage this Saturday, but they're there every other Saturday. Apparently, I will report next time whether or not what the actual status is out there after I check it out this Saturday. So that's very exciting. And lastly, I just want to recognize a very important anniversary. A woman named Jan Barton, who is my mother, and I believe she's watching on Facebook. Today is the 60th anniversary of her being on this side of the dirt. So happy 60th birthday, Mom. Just wanted to get that in the record. And that concludes the Ward 1 report. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Happy birthday to your mother. Councilmember Foe, Ward 2.
My wife is using the blender in the background, and I had to just yell at her if anybody just saw that. Please, I was about to speak. Hey, these at-home meetings are a little bit crazy, and I wouldn't even think about starting my Ward 2 report without first saying happy birthday to Councilmember Smith's mother. How's everybody doing? This has been strange times indeed. I ran into the mayor at the market the other night, and they had a COVID scare in their family, and we had a COVID positive with my nephew. He's fine, but it's just remarkable time periods where we're still forced to meet like this. And I want to say that I do look forward to a time period where we can all meet together again and talk, and you can remember how loud my voice actually is. So I look forward to those times. Town center market for the win yet again. My wife and I the other day after work went over for sodas, and we were sitting there, and we had friends that were sitting in the background, and we got to talking with them. And little did I know that I was introducing myself to a relatively newer employee at Riverdale Mansion. And I started the dialogue. And for about 5 years, we've been talking about this Field of Dreams Park. And I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way. I am a Kevin Costner fan. I just don't look at the future of that park as being named the Field of Dreams Park. Remember, I'm a Kevin Costner fan. It doesn't make sense. So I've spoke to the mayor and the town manager about this previously. I've spoken to the council with my desire to see Riverdale Elementary change names. But we have an opportunity in front of us, I really think, to right a lot of wrongs. And this is not something that it's actually very unique in my life, because I teach on what used to be George Washington's Mount Vernon, right? So I have this unique juxtaposition where I'm teaching students and this former remarkable statesman's house. And I'm also teaching African-American students who know that there was slavery that existed here as well. That same thing holds true for Riverdale. Can somebody remind me who is, I think it's a pastor, there's a family member that spoke to us at council before, I forget his name. Does anybody know that? I'm getting nothing.
Miss Barnes?
I didn't mean to put anybody on the spot, and I couldn't remember it myself, but it was a remarkable council meeting where he came and spoke to us and told the story. And one of the things that stuck out to me in that storytelling was the struggle for the Plummer family to be able to get married in this general area when they were enslaved at Riverdale. It's something that I immediately empathized with, and I ached, and I thought about that struggle. So back to Town Center Market, I am talking with this employee of Riverdale, and I brought up this idea that we should dedicate that space in the name of the Plummer family that was enslaved at Riverdale. I believe in truth telling in history, and I love that the Calvert family, Reverend Fowler, very good. Our town clerk is spectacular. Thank you, Miss Barnes. I just believe that, and getting to talk to this employee, they have old maps that indicate that over in that general area there were slave quarters. I had spoken to the town manager about this, and there's potentially burials that have occurred over there. And I just think in this day and age, what a remarkable step forward we can put in place in our community to honor those that we look back upon, that institution, that peculiar institution that is just plagues our American history. And we can honor those families that struggled here in Riverdale Park in those spaces. And I got a lot of positive feedback coming back from Riverdale. I know that it is not essential that they are a part of this. I just really would like them to be, because I think it speaks volumes of our town. And I really think we can make this space great. And we can humbly do it in the Plummer family's name. I've put forward the idea of the Plummer Family Park. And I just think we have an opportunity to right our historical wrongs, to honor the former residents of this community that were enslaved, and tell a truer picture of what that life was like at that time. And as I was talking to the town manager, he brought up that I had previously suggested that we seek a name change potentially for Riverdale Elementary to honor the family as well. And I think what a remarkable happenstance it would be to name an elementary school after someone who had to steal their education in the same area, the similar time period. I think that's just something for all of us to consider. I am going to meet forward with Riverdale again. I'm going to reach out to the Prince George's County African American Museum because I think we can historically just state some things publicly to show the surrounding community what Riverdale Park is all about. And with that, I yield my time.
Thank you, Councilmember Foe. Very interesting idea. So let's move on council committee and ward reports to Councilmember Lingua, Ward 3.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Greetings to everyone. CCAR CDC will be meeting tomorrow evening, 5:30. Agenda is yet to be released. As I stated last week, there's a tree planting over at the Edmonston Park. This has been a long ongoing project that finally had gotten approval through DPW&T after some clarification needed to be established between that body and Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Association. It is the new rain garden had, as a reminder, essentially 20 trees and 44 shrubs put in. I just wanted to thank the CDC as well as Maryland Environmental Trust and Rupert Nursery, also Maryland National Capital Parks Department, Department of the Environment, and a myriad of other. It's also University of Maryland Graduate Student Community Team, School of Plant Services. A lot of folks came together on this. Yes, it is just outside of town boundaries, but projects like these that can help contribute to an overall quality of life in town by what's being able to be accomplished over there, just as what we are able to do in town with the county regarding Wells Run and Nine Ponds is able to afford a quality of life, not just for us, but for communities that are downstream from these areas. This past Sunday, I had the opportunity to express an appreciation to members of Troop 249 and the Paint Branch Garden Club for a project they worked on Sunday, laying down the outline of the Presbyterian church that used to sit upon the grounds at the Calvert Park there, just off of where the farmers market is held and along Maryland 410. This is a project started by the members of Troop 249 and one enterprising young man. Name is escaping me right now. But it was a project that was very well thought out, methodically done, and I would suggest if folks have the opportunity to go up and see what they've accomplished. It is my hope that we could invite the troop as well as the Paint Branch Garden Club to a future council meeting whereby we could give them a citation of appreciation for their efforts in the park. On a note of for Halloween, and this goes back to a time when previous councils, the early objective was essentially to help make the town safe, to help make the town clean, and as much as we could to help make it beautiful. As much as the town could do that, it was really the input of the community that helped move those three objectives forward. And one of those demonstrations of things were of beauty of sorts and creativity was this past weekend down there at the corner of Taylor and Longfellow. Put together by the older Mondeal family. They're at right at that corner, formerly known as the Briar Patch for the older residents in town, was essentially some ghost dresses made up with molded chicken wire and fluorescent paint, and then put to black lights. And it was definitely a showstopper. It was set up really well. And it ties into the earlier proclamation because Sue Older Mondeal, pardon me, is she's a small business owner, Tanglewood Sue, as folks will know her as, through her branding. While living in town, she has a storefront down in the Brentwood, Mount Rainier area, a small business that I hope folks go to. And it's just that combination of seeing that and seeing what's possible and really engaging in that Halloween spirit. She and her daughter Sadie put this all together and set them up, and it was really well done. And I just wanted to point that out because it's one of those things that just kind of makes this community special. And my hat's off to them for that effort that they made and doing that for the community, at least this one little part of it. And with that, I will conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lingua. I'm reviewing the list of participants, and it doesn't look like we have any of the additional 3 council members. So let's move on to public comments on non-agenda items and consent agenda items. I don't see any members of the public, but just in case, are there any public comments? I've had some council members give public comments or seen it, not while I was mayor, but I've seen it. So it can always happen. Okay, that brings us to the consent agenda. There are 2 items on the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Smith. By our rules, there's no discussion of this. I will move immediately to a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
And I will abstain. The motion passes 3-0-1. That brings us to legislative action items. First item is a motion to adopt ordinance 2021-OR-09 regarding the town personnel manual and mandatory vaccinations. May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to motion to adopt ordinance 2021-OR-09.
Thank you, Councilmember. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Smith. Would you care to discuss the motion, Councilmember Foe?
The purpose of adding new section 0-6 to the Town of Riverdale Park Personnel Manual to require certain town employees to obtain vaccination against certain diseases as a condition of employment for fitness for duty, with certain exceptions and generally related to the provisions of the Town Personnel Manual. With this incredibly divisive dialogue that has occurred over the safety of residents and officials across this country, I believe it to be prudent for the Town of Riverdale Park to require vaccinations of its staff in order to maintain order within the town.
Thank you, Councilmember Foe. Is there any additional discussion on the motion to adopt ordinance 2021-OR-09? Are there any public comments? I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
I will call those who are not here just in case. Councilmember Siddiq, Councilmember Mejia, Councilmember Mayers are all absent. And even though I'm not really supposed to, I'm going to vote in favor of it also, just in case we need that fourth extra vote. Motion passes 4-0. This is very important. Thank you. Next item on the agenda. Motion to adopt resolution 2021-R-14 Mixed Use Town Center Local Design Review Committee MUTC membership recommendation. May I have a motion to adopt resolution 2021-R-14?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 2021-R-14, a resolution regarding nomination for the Riverdale Park Mixed Use Town Center Design Review Committee.
Thank you, Councilmember Lingua. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Councilmember Foe. Is there discussion of this motion?
Briefly, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
This is really a resolution as a matter so as we can maintain a continuity on a body which has been very effective in serving the town in terms of design review in the mixed-use town center, something that was put together, coming up on about finally approved about approximately coming up on 19 years ago, was started coming up on 20 years ago, and the discussion before that. So well over 2 decades in its life cycle so far. And I would just like to welcome my colleague from the First Ward, Mr. Smith, to the board, and I hope he finds it enjoyable and rewarding and as enriching as service can be to this town.
Thank you, Councilmember Lingua. Is there additional council discussion of this motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm just wondering if it's appropriate for me to vote on this motion. Happy to if it is. I know we're a little light tonight, so I'm not sure if abstaining would have any effect on that, but just seeking guidance there.
I think it's okay to vote on this particular because you can view this as not necessarily being a benefit. It's extra work for you.
Fair enough.
So you know, I think it's a neutral item in that way. I mean, I've certainly found it rewarding. I've been serving on the Mutc committee since as long as I could convince the council to nominate me. So so I find it rewarding, but it is a significant amount of work, and I think it's okay for you to vote on yourself.
Well, I look forward to the significant amount of work then.
Very good. Is there additional council discussion on this motion? Councilmember Siddiq arrived during the initial discussion. Good to see him. Okay, are there any public comments? Are there any members of the public? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Siddiq,
Aye.
and I will abstain. The motion passes 401. Thank you. Let's move on to legislative action item number 3, motion to authorize the town manager to enter into an agreement with ECM for an amount not to exceed $615,000 for roadway repair projects. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Lingua. Is there discussion of this action item, this motion?
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Please.
in the brief given, there's discussion of a budget amendment to allocate an additional $95,000 to the current FY 2022 budget. And I think this is probably something we're going to want to bring up. Well, this would, I don't know if this is so much new business as it is more essentially unfinished business, because it would be allowing the completion of this business. So during one of those times, it would be good to bring that up and discuss how we want to move forward on that.
Is there staff comment on that?
Yes, so we had recommended that because there are funds in this project that were not allocated. We allocated 520,000, thinking that would be enough. There's a fund balance there that the mayor and council could allocate that additional 95. With the timing of things, we have not had an opportunity to work with Mr. Sussman to prepare the budget amendment. There are sufficient funds allocated to CIP, and because of the scheduling of projects, there's enough money to move forward with this project at this time. But absent a budget amendment to allocate an additional 95,000, then we would have to trim 95,000 from someplace else in CIP. So it's not boxing you into a budget amendment, but then we would have to find it someplace else if the council did not agree to that allocation.
Does that answer your question, Councilmember Lingua?
Yeah, kind of in a way, yes. It just essentially says that we're going to need to discuss this more in the future. So either we do it towards the end of this meeting, or if we want to bring it this up in terms of how we want to review the CIP and go from there, and decide on this. I think, well, yeah, it's told me that we're going to have a few more discussions on this.
Right,
So.
and we could definitely discuss under unfinished business in order to give direction to the staff if we wanted to do that. But I think we're not ready to pass an amendment this evening, certainly, or even introduce
Oh
one.
no, I wasn't expecting that at all. I was thinking, you know what we could do under unfinished business, or is essentially, have the first part of a discussion that might be 2 or 3 parts. So.
Okay, very good. Okay, are there additional council comments or questions on this this motion? Are there any public comments? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Siddiq.
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia is still absent, and Councilmember Mayers is still absent. And I abstain. The motion passes 401, which is just enough. Okay, let's move on to agenda item 4, motion to approve the site at Tanglewood Drive and Riverdale Road for the next capital bike share location in town. May I please have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion by Councilmember Smith, seconded by Councilmember Foe. Is there discussion of the motion? We did have a decent discussion about this last week, and the fact that it's adjacent to the hiker-biker trail at the edge of the river and is accessible to residents who live on the eastern side of the river, easily accessible, and that this space is readily available. So I think it's great. I think I'm looking forward to this this project getting underway. So if there are no council comments or public comments, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Siddiq.
Aye.
And I abstain. The motion passes 4-0-1. Next item on the agenda is a motion regarding allocation of $2,000 from the fiscal year 2022 undesignated social concerns line item for turkeys for Thanksgiving food baskets. Is someone ready to make a motion to recommend spending $2,000 from the fiscal year, or to authorize spending fiscal year 2022 undesignated social concerns for turkeys?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Oh, Councilman Lingua got it.
I thought so. So Councilmember Smith made the motion and Councilmember Lingua had the second. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
Very good. Is there any discussion of this motion?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Please.
So wondering if staff could expand a little bit more on the final line of this brief, essentially stating that in addition to the above, the town will likely receive other requests for assistance throughout the holiday season.
Ms. Barnes?
Certainly. Good evening, Mayor Thompson and members of the council. Traditionally, we receive several requests during the holiday season for assistance. We did receive outreach at the end of last week from Pastor Ben with Passion and Compassion Ministries regarding the Thanksgiving food baskets that we just discussed. The greater need, the increase in meat prices and things like that have prompted this request tonight. We have not yet heard from Riverdale Elementary School, although outreach has been made. There may be additional requests. It's my understanding that they will not be having the coat drive this year, but there may be something that they come back to the council, or that staff will come back to the council with. So that's what we were indicating. Occasionally we need to request additional funding for our annual toy drive. We're just not ready to make that request right at this moment. We still need to evaluate what other organizations and stakeholders are doing. We want to kind of piggyback on that to make sure we can have the most impact with the money that we have in our budget.
So the total that's allocated out of the budget, just to be clear, is actually $5,000, and $3,000 is just spent directly without requiring council authorization. And this additional $2,000 will pay for the expected higher prices of some of the items in those food baskets and provide more food baskets.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could actually seek clarification, Ms. Barnes, what's the total amount that the mayor and council have in the undesignated social concerns budget?
They have a total of $10,000. So this will leave them with $8,000 for the rest of the fiscal year to utilize as they desire.
Thank you.
Sorry, one more time on the amount.
You have a total of $10,000 in the unallocated social concerns fund. If approved tonight, $2,000 would go towards the Thanksgiving food baskets, leaving $8,000 remaining.
Okay, all right, that's what I thought I heard. Thank you.
Okay, are there additional council comments on this motion to authorize spending 2,000 from the 10 undesignated social concerns to supplement the Thanksgiving food basket funds? Any public comments? I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Siddiq,
Aye.
and I abstain. The motion passes 4-0-1. That brings us to unfinished business. Are there any items of unfinished business? Councilmember Lingua,
Yeah, I was having a little finger trouble with tapping the mute button there. I was wondering if this is a time we want to discuss this now, or well, I guess we're going to treat this as unfinished business.
we could treat it as unfinished business or new business, whichever you prefer. You know, it's a new item of business, which is amending the budget, potentially amending the budget.
Yeah, I'd like to
But,
come back to this and, you know, get to the matter under new business regarding redistricting
Okay.
in the county. I think that it'd be better we get that out of the way first.
Okay, so let's discuss that under new business and go move on into new business unless there are any other items of unfinished. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, new business. New business item 1 is the redistricting process for Prince George's County. We had a special meeting 2 weeks ago, if my memory is correct, and sent a signed on to a letter from College Park. In the intervening 2 weeks, the Prince George's County Municipal Association, of which I represent the town on, and that organization is issuing a letter. It is in the late editing phases, again, calling for the council to adopt the redistricting commission recommendation for a map. And so the question is, given where we are as a council, do we wish to do any additional outreach to the council? Or to anyone else for that matter? So, floor is open.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Please.
I think one of the, thank you. I think one of the issues, or one of the things that caught my attention, is the fact that there's only going to be one public hearing prior to the vote on this, and the public hearing is coming right before the vote. And it seems to me on something of this importance and magnitude that having additional public hearing, at least, if not two, would be important. And I think that it would be good for us to convey that sentiment to the county council, as well as advocate before, you know, the body that you're representing us on, the PGCMA, to encourage them, should they have a consensus among their body, to do likewise.
Thank you. Councilmember Foe, your hand is up.
I agree. I was sitting here on the edge wondering, like, I mean, we've signed on with College Park. We are engaged in PGCMA, but like, I ultimately, when I get down to this, I feel like this is attempting to disenfranchise the voices of the voters. My wife walking behind me. No, I the way that this was done was just tremendously underhanded to exclude council members, to be so defiant, and to create such an outrageous gerrymander right in our backyard. I feel like distasteful isn't strong enough. It feels as if this is done under the cover of darkness with the deliberate attempt to limit voices. And I can't approve of this process in any way, shape, or form. And I would just like to have that on the record to the county council that this is not going to be accepted.
Okay. Any additional thoughts from the council on this item of new business? So something that that we can do, someone has to make a motion before we can do anything as a council. And something that we could do is you could assign myself working with town staff, town manager in particular, to write a letter sending it to all members of the county council and the county executive, opposing the adoption of the Davis-Hawkins or Hawkins-Davis map, the most recently introduced one, and suggesting that the Redistricting Commission map should be adopted instead, and additionally calling on the county council to have additional public hearings before the hearing on the day that they vote. Any other topics that might go into such a motion?
I think that pretty much covers it. I think, essentially the primary point that we oppose the Hawkins-Davis map, and that we implore the county council to hold additional public hearings, at least one additional, if not more, in the time between now and the 16th of November. Having said that, I see this as a very brief and direct letter to the county council and the county chair. I think also CC'd on this should be the PGCMA, as well as the office of the county executive.
Okay, so
You got that motion, Councilman Lingua?
Well, that's just my discussion on it. I'm happy to put forward a motion to direct the mayor and town manager to draft a brief yet concise letter stating the town's opposition to the Hawkins-Davis amended map, a preference for the commission map, and a request for additional public hearings, at least one, if not more, on this redistricting matter prior to the November 16th meeting.
Seconded.
Okay, I think I got that. My typing was keeping up with the councilman from the 3rd Ward.
I tried going at a measured pace for all.
I heard the measured pace. He did.
It was great. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there, I don't think this needs to be part of the motion necessarily, but the recipients will be the county council members, the county executive, and Prince George's County Municipal Association.
Yeah.
And any others that the town manager and I might find appropriate.
Yeah.
I presume.
And as well as is probably implied, or as mentioned, done post haste.
Oh yes. The more time that goes by, the less time there is for public hearings. I understand that very well.
Hence the reason for a concise letter.
Okay. Any additional discussion from members of the council? Any public comments? Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Sadiq,
Aye.
Councilmember Mejia is absent. Councilmember Mayers is absent. So, and I abstain. The motion passes 4-0-1. And I understand all too well the haste. That brings us back to new business. Is there an item of new business, Councilmember Lingua, that you wish to discuss?
Briefly, I would just like to discuss the item that we were looking at before, that we approached earlier on the agenda tonight, regarding the we were talking about the approval of the contract to enter an agreement with ECM for the roadway repair projects, and the additional monies that we would need to essentially take from the reserve fund and put towards this project, or essentially use that money to replace other monies for projects in the CIP fund. I know there's going to be a lot of motions back and forth directing what money's coming from where and going into this fund, and then money from the reserve fund. I mean, there are a number of ways this can be approached, and I would like to hear from staff what they feel would be the easiest for them to address this all.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Please.
So in the approved fiscal 2022 budget, in the funding sources section for street repair projects, Project 11 PW07, total funding in fiscal 2022 is $710,821. That's how much we have in this project. The issue is that we only anticipated $520,000 in expenditures, leaving a balance of $190,821. So there's, in this project, there's $190,000, but it was not allocated. So we did not anticipate that expenditure. So the amendment would be allocating money that's housed in CIP and specifically in this project. It's highway user funds. And so we would be coming back to you saying, instead of the original 520 that we anticipated expending, it will be the 615. And we would be increasing the expenditure to 615 in the current year. And that would give us a smaller carry forward balance into fiscal 2023. But it's all done within that project. There would be nothing coming from reserves. It'd be coming from highway user funds.
Okay. So then we're not having to pull from there, and it's just all from highway user funds.
Yes, it's just that we were off in our guesstimate of what it would cost. And since it exceeds the allocated funds, we would need you to authorize the additional allocation.
Okay. And now you had mentioned something about looking at opportunity costs within the CIP budget.
That's only if the council chose not to amend the budget.
Okay.
So that's not the staff recommendation, since we have money available for this type of work in this project. But
So
if, go ahead, sir, I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just going to say, so if the council said, well, we don't want you to spend that additional highway user funds in this fiscal year, then we would have to find 95,000 someplace else. But within CIP, I'm not recommending that we tap into reserves. And I don't have recommendations on that. But if the council wanted to direct us to say, well, go ahead and find 95,000 somewhere else, then we would work on that over the next few weeks. But our recommendation is to change this allocation and have less carryover.
Okay. So this is way much more straightforward. I mean, it makes sense to me to, you know, to take that approach. I'd like to hear from other council members.
Other council members, any thoughts?
I think the way the town manager laid it out makes a lot of sense.
Thank you, Councilmember Siddiq. Any others? Oh, the thumbs up from Councilmember Foe. So you
Okay.
speak. Shortest speech ever. Thumbs up
Okay.
from Councilmember Smith. Tie for the shortest speech ever.
It's the one, as we get closer to adjournment, it's the one point in my life where I actually become closer to silence. Like that, that's just how I function.
Understood.
And with each word proving otherwise. Okay.
So I believe we have a path forward based on the
Okay.
opinion here. And so we can see what staff brings us later in the month at our work session.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Are there other items of new business to discuss this evening? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Mayor, may we adjourn, please?
Second motion by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Lingua. This is not debated by the rules of order. Do a roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Hi.
Councilmember Siddiq.
Aye.
Councilmembers Mejia and Mayers are not in attendance, and I abstain. The motion passes 401. We are adjourned at 8:20 p.m. Thank
Not
you all very
bad.
much.
Thank you,
Very good.
staff. Thank you, town
Thank
council.
you, everybody.
Have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.